Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello! Ugh, that sounded awful. Hello! How are you?
I'm okay.
I wasn't even asking you. I didn't even know you were there. I was just generally saying it. I have heard your voice is in and out today.
Yes, well, I'm okay now.
Okay, well, you know...
Our cousin Edie is calling me even as we speak.
Oh, jeez. Well, yeah, that's par for the course.
Well, I haven't talked to her, so now I'm not going to pick up my phone, but that's it.
Okay. So, all right. Well, our voices are always iffy, and so that's my sister, for those of you who, for some reason, don't recognize the voice. She joins us on Tuesday and from Chicago.
Yes, here I am.
Here you are.
I am being tortured by the phone, but that's fine.
You mean
You know what I did yesterday?
No.
I contacted the IRS as instructed because my tax return had been stolen back in April or March or February or whenever they stole it, but when I tried to file, it was rejected.
Because it had already been filed by someone who was not you? How much money did they get off your, what did they, do you know
I have no
how much?
idea. So then you get a letter saying that you have to call and prove to them who you are. I mean, when I called them in the first place, I said, I'll prove to you who I am. I'm the one that knows that my husband died.
Ah.
And there was this silence. No one says anything. And then I get this thing that's addressed to Eric, deceased, and me, because that's how I filed the tax return. And so anyway, they tell me that I have to call and prove myself up, you know, with by answering any question they choose to
Hey,
ask.
Suze, all I just want to say is would that they have done all this for the person...
for the first time. For
the person who first
filed. A little late. Anyway, so I call, and the first time I call, it's like at noon, and they say we couldn't... There's an announcement that after you go through 85 things, it says, well, we're too busy to talk to you now. Call tomorrow. And you've got like 30 days to make this call, according to them. So I hang up and I call right back, and this time I get on, but I'm told that I have a wait time of between a half an hour to an hour. So I put it on speaker, and I go about my business. Around 4 o'clock, just as, of course, I have to run out and move my car, they come on the line. So this is, you know, a long time. Several hours later, they come on the line. I managed to get back into the house and sit down at my computer and answer every single question she can think of, including what was on line XYZ and my 2013 tax return.
Are you kidding?
No.
I mean, it wasn't like, what was the name of your dog?
No. Anyway, so then, I mean, she keeps putting me on hold. She keeps putting me on hold. By now it's 5 o'clock. And then she comes back, she says, I can't help you with this. You're going to have to, I'm going to give you a PIN number, and which will say that you've passed all of these tests, but you've got to talk to this guy in this department in order to fix this all. So she transfers me. This guy picks up the phone. I tell him the story, and he goes and looks at my stuff, and he goes, "Lady, I can't help you with any of this. You've got to call this number." And I said, "That's the number I called." He said, "Well, then how did you get here?" And I said, "They transferred you to me after 5 hours." So guess what? I have to start all over.
No.
Yeah. And at some point I'm going to say, I'm going to record the calls myself from the wait time to the end, and then I'm going to stop. I did contact them as instructed within 30 days. I did prove myself up. The fact that, and I paid my taxes, and I'll continue to pay my taxes, so I've done nothing wrong. They're the ones that are screwed up.
They're the ones who did everything wrong, right?
How can they expect people to have a whole day, more than once, to sit on the phone to talk to them?
Oh, dear God.
I mean, what if,
this is what makes
just
people
imagine
nuts.
if you're filing a tax return, what if you actually work?
I know. What happens if you work? What happens? What are they
there is
thinking?
this online thing that you can go to verify. It's like idverify.irs.com. Okay, I know this by heart now. But, of course, for whatever reason that the woman that I was speaking to couldn't figure out what the hell to do, either could the computer. It didn't believe I was me. It's just, I don't know.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, the only other thing I can figure out is that somebody got so much money out of them that woman didn't want to be the one to say they made that big a mistake. I don't know.
Well, I feel for you. I'll tell you what, I do understand. I'm sorry, I'm sitting here, Susan, with my eyes closed because those strobe lights are going.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Fire drill.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the IRS has been starved.
I know. I kept saying, I know it's not your fault.
There are
I get that you're understaffed and overwhelmed because I'm one of hundreds of thousands of people that had their identity stolen.
Unbelievable.
I don't know how many different ways because I have Blue Cross Blue Shield. Lost all of my info and all of Eric's info, and for all I know, that's how this happened.
Someone's going to have to. I know they keep talking about different ways of so that our identifications and all this stuff can be protected.
Right. Did you see that MasterCard is doing this take a selfie thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
What does a 90-year-old person who doesn't know how to take a selfie do? Or what happens if you don't own that kind of a phone? There are still people that have little flip phones that don't take pictures, and they're just phones.
Uh-huh. Really?
Yeah.
What?
I can name 3 of them.
You can? They just have phones?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, geez, I don't know. Oh, damn. Aaron says, feels like the Patty and Selma show. All you need, that's the Simpson sisters.
Yeah, I know. Well, we can't help it. These are our voices.
All you need are some cigarettes and vaguely sexual innuendo. Oh, we could do that.
We can do that. I gave up cigarettes, sorry.
Well, I thought, we do. Our voices are ravaged we both were smokers.
Yeah.
And
I more than you.
Really? You think?
Oh, yeah. I never didn't have a cigarette in my hand.
Well, me either when I smoke, because I don't do anything moderately. Much to my, it's...
But I quit December 1st, 1988.
How do you know that?
Because I quit because my 2 then very little children came standing in front of me because of what they teach them in school, and
they thought
holding
you were gonna
hands
die,
and about not smoking and holding hands and saying, "You're gonna die! Please stop!" And then Arlie says, did you smoke when you were pregnant with me? And I said, well, a little. And he goes, am I okay? And
Oh, God!
I was
it's a
ready
wonder.
to shoot somebody.
He
So
could have
anyway,
gone and
so I
lawyered
promised
up.
that I would stop, and what I did is I set a date.
You did? Okay. That
And
was the
then,
day.
which was a few months off to get my brain around it. And I had tried this many times before, and it did not take. And because all I did is spend all of my time trying to find someone who smoked to bum a cigarette off of them. So I stopped mid-carton, put the carton right on top of the refrigerator in plain view, and just told myself, it's between you and them. If you want one, if you're that weak, just go get it. There it is, right there.
But they say it's not about weak. That willpower doesn't help. It is not
Well, at
what's
that
happening
time,
with an
I'll
addiction.
tell you what helps is simply firmly actually making the decision. Because that time was the easiest. I just quit.
Yeah.
And I never put a cigarette in my mouth again. I knew if I ever
Really?
so
You think
much
you
as
would start
put one
smoking
in my mouth,
Really?
I would do it.
Because I've smoked cigarettes since.
Yeah, I won't. Absolutely won't.
And I find them, I get dizzy.
Of course you do, but I quit and went through that part where they make you sick and give you headaches and make you want to throw up. I went all through that again just to be able to enjoy cigarettes. So no, I won't. I won't get near them.
Well, good. They
But
say.
I still sound like this.
Well, that's because you smoke pot.
Oh well, that too.
I'm sorry, Susan. I didn't mean to out you.
I actually outed myself to my trainer the other day.
You did?
Yeah.
Your new trainer, and what did he or she say?
She just laughed.
My trainer smokes pot, so what? I mean, who doesn't smoke pot?
They were talking. You know, the Grateful Dead just played 3 days in Chicago.
Yeah, I know. That's the end of it. That's the end.
That's the end. But they talked about, you know, how of course it was just under Soldier Field was under a huge cloud of marijuana smoke.
Oh, sure.
And they made no arrests except for like 3 people. And I was going, how did they pick out those 3 people?
Are you sure it was just
they were just arrested for possession.
I don't know. Maybe they had to. I don't know.
They must, unless they were carrying around, unless they were possessing an often. They must have been. Well, it would have been.
No. You know the at the Rolling Stones concert here recently. People were lighting up all over the place, and if you had, you saw vapes, you saw I mean, it's anyone who thinks it's not essentially
mainstream.
Yeah.
Just totally mainstream. It's like.
Well, tell that to the poor schmoes who are sitting in a jail right now.
Well, that's why we need to do something about this. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. So.
I mean, I have no problem with throwing, heroin dealers in jail. They're killing people.
Here's who belongs in jail. OxyContin dealers.
Yeah,
I'm talking about doctors.
Tell me about it.
I'm talking about going after the American Medical Association and Big Pharma. It's the legal shit.
Well, that's what gets everybody hooked.
I know.
Percocet.
Okay, we got a call. Hello, caller.
I don't smoke pot.
Well, you're just an oddball.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Do you drink?
No.
You don't drink. You don't smoke. You smoke cigarettes.
I smoke cigarettes like that. I was going to bring up, like there's no tomorrow.
Well, that's the worst of the lot.
So, you picked the worst one.
Why would you do that?
Huh? Because I'm an addict, like a crack. Yeah.
I know,
Cigarettes and coffee. Those are my 2 things. It's, I'm an artist. We're supposed to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can actually tell you when I started.
Yeah.
It was me and my friend. We used to, back in the day, it was you had to be 18 to drink down in West Virginia.
Yeah.
Although I didn't drink, there were nightclubs down there. So I was like 16, and changed our licenses, and it was called the Cloud 1. And so we put on our suits. We'd go buy more cigarettes. Those long, skinny.
Yeah. Those are for
brown
women.
cigarettes.
Those are for women.
Yeah, but this is back in like the early '80s, where like shoulder pads were just coming back. They had like this I want to say 40s or 50s looks.
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
zoot
40s
suits.
looks.
Yeah, almost zoot suits. With the long, skinny cigarettes, hats. And we go. And I'd go dance. He'd get high and all kinds of good stuff. But I like to dance, so pointy-toed shoes, and it just looked cool. But I only did that like on the weekends. But when I got in art school, and I was doing all-nighters and drinking coffee,
Mm-hmm.
and the coffee made me shake, the cigarettes balanced it out. And I still do that to this day. It's very difficult for me to work and not have coffee
and a cigarette,
which I am doing right now.
I remember thinking when I was stopping cigarettes, I was in television in Madison, Wisconsin, and I was thinking, but I won't be able to write a story.
Mm-hmm.
Because, there's a thing you go through.
Yeah.
I sat down at the typewriter. I lit my cigarette. I took a big drag, and only then could I write.
Yeah.
But, of course, that's not true.
Yeah, it's what is it? What is it called? It's
I don't know.
ritualistic or I don't know. If
It's
really
habitual
habit.
behavior. I mean, it's just it's a what you think. You know how I started smoking cigarettes? Because I remember when I was in high school. Susan, did you smoke in high school?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, jeez. See,
Golds.
Oh, God. When I smoked in high school, when I didn't smoke in high school. A lot of my friends did. I remember thinking it stunk. They were horrible. I couldn't believe they did it. It seemed so stupid. And then I went to Northwestern University my freshman year, and I'd heard about this stuff called marijuana. And I thought, I never saw any in Green Bay, but I thought, now's my chance. I bet I'm going to come across some marijuana. And I don't want to embarrass myself because I can't inhale. So I literally sat at my desk in the freshman dorm, Willard Hall, with a little, a mirror on a stand, one of the little mirrors on stands in front of me. And I felt the only way I could do it is to watch myself. I would take a puff. I would take a drag of a cigarette and inhale and start coughing and gagging. And I finally I had to smoke a ton of cigarettes before I mastered the art of inhalation. Why I was doing it looking in the mirror, I don't know, but I got it down. And what happened? I was hooked on cigarettes!
I tell you, my ADHD, I'll say I have it. I don't really know. I've never been diagnosed. But you give me 2 hours without a cigarette, the puns, the jokes, the weirdness, what I call the real me, comes out in full force.
Well, maybe that's okay.
Yeah,
What's
I think
wrong
it
with
is,
it?
But it comes out in full force. People are like, why are you doing that? Calm down. I'm like, I haven't had a cigarette in 2 hours. You should see me after 3 hours. I'm talking really fast. I'm back to that kid me, that crazy little kid.
I'll tell you what,
cool.
it's a tough time to be a smoker. I feel for you. I'm thinking of all the places you can't smoke.
Yeah,
Not to mention how much they cost.
And oh my God, Clarence, how much?
Wait. Check this out. I got a machine. I buy tobacco in little tubes.
Yeah.
And they cost me $1.10 a pack. The last time I paid for a pack, they were $7 something. I bought
So you roll. Okay, so you make your own.
Yeah, I just make my own. Yeah, because
there's all sorts of talk about taxing that stuff the same way to make it because that's a lot of people do that now.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, you just make your own. And somebody said, what's going to make you stop smoking cigarettes? I said, well, it might be money.
Yeah.
I said, but I don't know. I said I might cut out things like fabric softener. If I cut out little things,
that you can live without.
I don't really need fabric softener. Let me cut that out.
Well,
salt's bad for you.
Clarence, I'm getting some emails from people who like you, and they're all saying, please.
Yeah, you remember the last time this happened.
Stop smoking.
You remember the last time people were trying to tell me, oh, you got to do this, and
It doesn't work. Forget about it.
Yeah, that's it. I tell people, I just live my life the way it is. There's been people who live to the age of 80. 30-something who were smokers, and then there were people who died at the age of 30-something who were smokers. You just never know. You just do your thing and live your life the way it is.
All right.
And I'm not saying I won't quit smoking, but it's not something that I'm going to stress about right now.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. You're an idiot. Goodbye.
Yeah, that's the same thing that happened the last time.
All right. Goodbye.
Okay, all right.
Bye. Okay. There must be something to talk about here. Susan, that upsets you?
What? That Clarence smokes?
Yeah, that anybody smokes.
Well, yeah.
A little bit.
Because it stinks. And,
'Cause it
and it's just, yeah, it's stupid.
Did you hear that if you go to Boston right now, that there is still a huge, huge mound of snow?
Of snow?
Suze?
Yeah.
Oh, there was a strange sound.
There was, but I'm still here. I
Okay.
said of snow, yes.
Yes. There's a huge, it got so bad in the winter that they had to, take, parking lots or empty lots, huge acres, and just keep dumping. They made mountains of snow. This one was the largest, and it is still 12 feet high and big, and it has now been compressed so that it is like solid ice, and it is melting so slowly because it's sort of formed its own ecosystem, whereby as soon as a little trickle of water might come out of it, it freezes again before. They say standing next to it is like standing next to an open freezer. And I
wonder if it's affecting the climate in Boston.
I don't know, and it ain't pretty, because when they were scraping things up off the street, they scraped up all kinds of stuff as well that was covered in snow. They couldn't see. So, as it has reduced, bicycles have appeared, a fire hydrant appeared.
How could they get a whole fire hydrant?
Probably a live dog. I don't know. I mean, it's unbelievable. The mayor has got some kind of a thing going as to if anybody, they got a lottery going about who can guess the exact date when it totally disappeared. It used to be 75 feet high and blanketed 4 acres. It ain't that high now, but some people are saying they're afraid it'll never go away. That it
might not ever go away. They'll just add to it again next year.
Yeah, it could be. How odd is that?
It'll be Mount Snow.
Mount Snow. It's let me see. Yeah, it's got manhole covers in it, newspaper boxes.
Well, which is going to, it's going to begin to form the base and compact.
Well, they say it's so compact. One person has actually skied it, and I don't know. They don't think...
Well, people will ski anything. Eric, my husband's third cousin, skied down the coal piles in Green Bay.
Yeah.
And made a poster out of it called Ski Green Bay.
I've seen that. But I mean, who would think that? Yeah, it says there's fire hydrants that have been uncovered in there.
I mean, how could the snowplow just take out the fire hydrants without anybody noticing?
It says fire hydrants because there was I don't know. I mean, you got a bunch of snow and I don't know.
But they aren't in the middle of the street. That means that they were going down the sidewalk.
You can't tell where the street is.
I know.
So anyway, I'm just telling you. Margaret wants us to talk about Cosby. You hear that, Margaret?
Surprise, surprise. He drugged women.
Oh, my
God.
God.
Are you surprised?
No, I'm stunned. I am so shocked. What I want to know is how long did it take for somebody to uncover one of these?
Well, what I think is interesting is that he admits to something that he thinks is just normal. That was the 70s. I got some Quaaludes and was, just giving them to women. And, that, I mean, there were an awful lot of people doing that.
Yeah, I remember.
It was usually, however, consensual.
It was consensual, but it does, yeah. Quaaludes made you lose, not necessarily consciousness, but made you lose any
I had one
inhibition.
once, and all it made me lose was my lunch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just threw up.
I had one once.
I am not good with drugs.
They were handed out at a party of a friend who had just graduated from medical school. And we always called her Dr. Feelgood. And Dr. Feelgood was wandering around through this party and giving everyone Quaaludes. And yes, this is 1970-something.
Right.
And believe me, no good came of it. Even I won't tell the story of what resulted at that party.
It's
Even
very funny that, or ha-ha, but anything like that just makes me ill. I am not good with...
Well, that's good. Yep.
Yeah, it
Lucky
is.
you. Lucky you.
I find it absolutely untempting, how many times have I heard people say, I have to have surgery, but at least the drugs will be good, and I'm thinking to myself, what? They make you sick, and then you don't poop for a month. What's fun about that?
Well, I think the drugs they give you, like prepping for a surgery, the ones that just sort of like bring. I remember the first time I was being wheeled into an operating room, and this was in Green Bay. Shortly after, it was Christmas. It was like the day before Christmas. I had elective surgery and they put me in the hospital to yank all my wisdom teeth out. And they were, because, Christmas to a Jew, who cares? I'll go have surgery. I'll have my teeth pulled out.
Give you something to do, and everybody will feel really sorry for you.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know, but they were...
I did mine on New Year's Eve for the same reason.
I remember being wheeled down. They gave me something. I was wheeling down. So this would be 1968. And I said to the person wheeling me, I said, man, what is this stuff? Could I get a subscription? I do.
You remember misspeaking?
Well, because I misspeak that all the time. I say subscription for prescription all the time, but he laughed. He was laughing. So I remembered it. The funniest thing from that, can I tell you another story?
Sure.
Because come to think of it, it also involves Dr. Feelgood. Before she was Dr. Feelgood. So Dr. Feelgood and I were the same age, and so this was when we were like 19 or 20, when I had the molars pulled. And when I was recovering the next day, they actually kept you in the hospital for 2 days. I mean, back in the day, for having your teeth pulled. And I had all that bloody gauze in my mouth. I had some stitches in my mouth. And what happened is my friend, Robin, came to visit. And she walked into the room and she threw a magazine on my torso as I lay in the bed. I said, "What's that?" She said, "Turn to page 17. I turned to page 17, and there is a 2-page spread. It involved a horse, and it involved a naked Dr. Feelgood, our friend, atop it. And it was labeled something about Lady Godiva, blah, blah, blah. And I almost blew every stitch out of my mouth. I was so stunned. I was stunned. I was howling. I was laughing. Then I was in agony. I'll never forget the pain of it. But seeing someone you went to that was your friend, and it was a porn magazine.
And that, by the way, was the one that did the most with herself.
And then she's later, goes and becomes an MD. And I know, I've since learned, she's done all kinds. She goes all over the world doing lots of really good work. She's still out there. But, but so she's the one who passed out Quaaludes in. But you know why so we later found out why she did it. She was
why?
She was at the time at the University of Chicago. And she had gotten radicalized. Again, it was like 68. And she needed money to go and join what was called the Venceramos Brigade in Cuba. Dr. Feelgood.
Did she?
Yeah.
So
I think she did.
She was going to fund this mission by taking her clothes off, and she had hair. She had hair always that went. It was never cut. It was down, way past her tush. And and so there she was, a perfect Lady Godiva. I remember the Lady Godiva thing.
You do?
Yeah.
Boy, jeez.
But I can't for the life of me remember who this is.
You can't?
No, I can picture her and everything.
Okay,
anyway.
Her first name is Dorothy.
Oh yeah, okay.
She's the only person I knew who didn't have a normal family, what I thought of as a normal family. Everybody I knew had a mom and a dad. And she just had a mom and they lived with her grandparents. And I thought that was I felt like she was like an orphan. I always felt so sorry for her. And her mother worked. In a bank. She's the only girl I knew whose mother worked and who had been divorced. Susan, I didn't know anybody like that.
I didn't either. I knew plenty of unhappy married.
But see, look what happened to her. She ended up a communist in porn magazines and passing out nasty drugs at parties.
And a highly successful doctor.
Life and saving people's lives.
Right.
But geez, our life, our sense of the world was so...
You were a bunch of the craziest girls who turned into really sort of outstanding
mostly
women. It's all very interesting. You were all very creative, very funny, very out there.
There was
and
a
you
bunch.
all did very well.
Yeah, there was a bunch of us. But I was thinking the other day of things we did that are so horrifying. Susan, people would think, you can't imagine what we did.
You were hooligans.
I was not. I was always with them.
You just went along. You never did anything. You just went along for the ride and recounted the stories.
And recounted the stories. I was like the Boswell. I said, you will not believe what they just did. I was thinking the other day about something that they did. I didn't really. Sitting in a middle school assembly. This would be at Washington Junior High.
Right.
Okay. I don't know what the assembly was about. The ringleader was always a extraordinarily creative person named Pat Parrish. And Pat whispered down the line of us girls, let's see who can take the most clothes off.
Before anybody notices.
Well, the idea was, of course, never to get caught.
Right.
Well,
and you rarely did. This is what I...
we didn't get caught. We didn't get caught that time. And she usually won these contests. But, so she started, everybody sort of kicked their shoes off, then their socks, underpants were sort of wiggled out of, bras were undone and pulled down. And this is all while we're sitting staring straight ahead while there's supposedly an assembly going. It's that kind of thing. And you think, my God. And we were all like, what would they say about kids like that today? It's not like you would say they were... sure to be, you're right. I mean, we all turned out just fine.
Well, I was more amazed at when you guys hit high school and you would drop to your knees and crawl out of classrooms and into the
ventilating system.
Nobody noticed.
That was Pat's doing too. Sitting one day in English class, it was a big old building. My father had gone to that building. Our father had gone to that building, and there was a huge air vent at the back wall where she was sitting. And she just started unscrewing the bolts during the class. She sort of shoves the grate aside and disappears into it. She emerges later, God knows where, and says, "It's the most amazing thing. You can crawl." I crawled. She was all over the building, peeking into vents in various rooms, and so she created this thing where we went on I only went on one. I only had the nerve to do it once. And I thought I was going to die. It was the scariest moment of my life because we were crawling around throughout the high school in the ventilating system, and she had mapped it out. We ended up in the auditorium up above the stage. We were going way up above the stage, and then there was this place where you had to actually stand up and sort of shimmy through something. I got stuck. I had a big butt even then. I got stuck. And they're pulling on me. I'm saying, no, you can't, no. And I really remember having this flash of, someday.
They're going to find your skeleton.
My skeleton. The skeleton of a girl. Obviously, they extracted me from that. I mean, unbelievable what we did. Susan.
Yeah, I know. I'm telling you, I just gave up. I became a relatively very good girl because there was no way to top your escapades, and I just,
Well, our brother
lived a far quieter life than you did.
There was no other group like that. We just happened to be. There was no other. I mean, I know we were unbelievable. I have told the story of how Pat Parrish, who was also very sexually precocious, of how Pat Parrish in 6th grade, we were all up in her bedroom, Linda Stewart, me, Robin, Dorothy, a bunch of others, Lynn Cullen, and she had been doing some serious making out with Steve Eisenhower. And we wanted to know all about it. And so she was trying to tell us. And I remember saying something, I wouldn't even know how to kiss a boy. I mean, how do you kiss? And so I remember we sat there on that bed. What would somebody have thought?
Practice kissing each other?
Practice kissing. We must have done it for a half hour. We're all like, and I remember Pat saying to me, no, make your, softer. You gotta make your lips soft. I'm saying, we. Isn't that great?
Oh, God.
Isn't it great? What do people think kids do? I mean, what do they think?
I don't know, but I just have to say, I didn't do any of that.
I didn't do it. Well, I did a little. Robin opened up an antique wardrobe at the Neville Public Museum.
Yeah, I remember that.
This is
too.
the most disgusting thing.
Yeah, I don't even want to hear this.
Okay. She is now, by the way, an expert witness in testimony all over the country about child abuse. Oh, God almighty.
It's just you were all very smart and very creative and very undertended.
Untended. Well, but that was what the 50s and 60s.
Totally ignored.
We had no parenting at all. I mean, they were out the windows every other night. They were all over town. I did not do that.
Well, I remember practicing going upstairs and downstairs with you in unison so that you could sneak out and I'd come back upstairs and it would be me making the noise.
But I don't remember ever really doing it.
I did used to sneak out. I was better at it than you were. And then until one night I got back and Mother was just sitting on the stairs going, "Where do you go?" And I said, actually, we did. I just met up with Marilyn and a few other people, and we were just sitting on the golf course talking down at Town and Country.
Oh my God! Margaret wants to know what Pat does now. Pat had a rough life. She married her high school sweetheart. I remember the song she used to sing about him. What was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Something about his fat, freckly fingers. And my boyfriend, she made a song up too. He was so gorgeous. And my boyfriend, I danced with him once or something. But he had flunked so many times that he was 19. And he was in our class. David Yeager. Susan.
I do not remember David.
I just saw his obit the other day. God, he was gorgeous. I don't know how he was so dumb. His father was the editor of the newspaper. But she had a song about him. I can't remember anything other than, "Oh, I'm 19 and I'm dumb. Oh, I'm 19 and I'm dumb." Can't even tell my fingers from my thumbs.
Was this person Rizzo?
What?
Was she just Rizzo? And
She was like Rizzo. She drew the most amazing. She would create shoes. And some of the shoes, they look like Rube Goldberg machine. They were so brilliant. She wrote songs. She had more talent. She could have, Susan, could she not have been Saturday Night Live? Could she not have been?
Absolutely.
Instead, she married very young, had 2 very premature babies, and one of whom they both made it to adulthood, but one died. She's buried a son. She has a grandchild that's totally disabled. She has had, and that she still has a sense of humor. I don't know that she would have ever gotten through life without the sense of humor that she has. I haven't seen her in a while. She lives in, I think, South Carolina or something. Brilliant. She's just flat out brilliant. She was the brains. So anyway, there you have it. And believe me, there's stories I couldn't tell.
No, you couldn't. But you guys had a lot more scary fun than I ever did.
And I got to tell you, I do not recall any of this fun involving booze or drugs.
No, it was just naughty creativity.
That's what it was. No booze, no drugs. We did not drink. We were just curious and funny, and I don't know. Why do I say I didn't like my childhood? That was because it's
You had a great deal of fun. I've never understood that either, because all I remember are totally hysterical stories.
I think they were hysterical after. I think during I was always a wreck. I was sort of the anxious one off to the side. Oh, someone's coming! Someone's coming! I was that.
Well, that I get. That's who I was, too, but at least you had the guts to be standing there. I wouldn't have been anywhere near there.
We never got caught.
I know. no adult for about 2 decades was paying any attention whatsoever.
It's true. And when you contrast
and the
that...
result is it turned their children into a bunch of helicopter parents because they were so neglected.
Well, that's true. So then those kids who were essentially raised by wolves, which is us, I mean, feral, and knowing what we did, I guess those parents are more, scared of what... they're always imagining the most incredible stuff because we did it, but I don't know. I think
Well, it did convince me that the most important job of any adolescent is to survive it.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Because each generation has its own things that they're dealing with. I mean, so, and maybe one generation seems more clean and wholesome than another, but I doubt it. You work with what you have at the time.
Well, now it's also self-centered because of the technology stuff, right? It's more...
I think it's a problem because nobody has any privacy within which to operate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys required a whole lot of quiet, and you tell the stories later, but you had to. You couldn't have done any of the stuff if you were, because you'd be putting it up on Facebook. Look where I was, and then you'd all be promptly arrested.
We didn't care if anybody ever knew. I don't think we ever told anybody what I might have told you, but I mean, nobody. We did it because it was exciting and fun. We did it because
naughty, right?
And naughty, and because it was, I guess it was an outlet for our imaginations, and think of that. That's all better than having everything presented to you. And it's sad. Everybody should have a childhood like that. Taking off as many. If I were to say to a kid today, see if you can get some of your friends during one of the assemblies to take off as many clothes as they possibly can during it. I mean, what would happen to a kid who got caught doing that today?
Well, they'd probably be up on some sort of, sex offense for exposing themselves, and on the sex offender registry. Honestly, that's probably exactly what would happen.
Well, I guess I'm very lucky. So, Susan.
Yeah.
I can't believe we haven't talked about anything.
We've successfully avoided a lot of stuff. I mean, what do you want to talk about? Iraq?
No.
Hillary?
No.
Bernie?
Well, Bernie's scaring Hillary.
I know. It's sort of fun.
Listen to this. I'll do one number. Just in May, what was that, 2 months ago?
Right.
A Quinnipiac poll. I'm not sure if this is just for Iowa. They're not clear about that. Maybe it's an Iowa poll. Showed Bernie had 15%, and she had 52%. Guess what he had last week? He'd more than doubled. He now had, this last week, 33%, and she'd dropped. So they're afraid he's going to potentially win Iowa.
Right.
Well, fine and dandy. Good.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all, except that, my problem is that I have my eyes on the prize, and I want whichever candidate can defeat the other guy.
Yeah.
And I will keep an open mind about who that is.
Yeah, but I don't think, even if I think Bernie might scare her or embarrass her.
But he's not going to derail her.
I don't think it's possible.
And I don't think he could win the national election either.
No, I don't either.
Although, if you noticed, the more people are registered Democrats again than Republicans, that had tilted the other way for, several
But I
years.
think but I think aren't independents the most?
Independents are probably the most, yeah. I mean, I can call myself an independent, but I vote
But
Democrat
you're registered
90% of the
Democrat.
time.
Right, me too. Since the Republicans have gone haywire, I do not vote for any Republican.
Well, I haven't either.
I
but
used to, but
back
I
in the
will
day
not.
when I lived in Missouri,
Yeah.
sometimes the more
Yeah.
liberal candidate was a Republican,
Yeah, I understand.
and especially with regards to women's rights. So there were several years that I voted for a local woman who was pro-choice, but she was the Republican candidate.
Yeah. Well, so Sanders, what he's going to do is he's going to force her to pull to the left a bit. He's probably going to do that, just as the whoever the Republican turns out to be is going to be pulled to the right.
Right.
And everybody knows that the election gets won in the general election in the middle by those independents. So you don't. I don't know. You gotta hold the middle.
Here's the question that I can't get my head around the answer.
I think I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
How can Donald Trump possibly have any supporters at all? I mean, he's just a buffoon.
I heard some local yokels here talking on a radio show here about why they supported him. And Susan, it's because here's what I heard.
It's because he's a hateful bigot.
It's because he's rich. And they think, of course, they're all rich. It's because he's rich and they think anyone who's smart enough to make all that money is somebody, if he can run a business, he can run the government. And they like his belligerency. They perceive as strength.
Oh, good. Well, he's so smart that he just single-handedly brought down his empire. Good thing he has real estate.
It's true. He is. You imagine Donald the politician? It's not the politician part of him is the same part. Is the biggest part of him? It is the attention seeker, the needing to be in the spotlight. He's
right.
He's
the guy that names everything after himself. That's all you have to know.
Yeah.
Trump, Trump, Trump.
You see, piñatas are selling in Mexico with
him.
Yeah.
Well, I thought
Trump
it was interesting
piñatas.
that even ESPN won't.
Yeah, ESPN has dumped him from some golf.
Well, they
tournament.
won't show any tournaments that are on his golf courses.
He's lost everything. So I saw something cute where he said, "I'll negotiate." These are negotiators with Iran. I'll negotiate. I know how to negotiate. And somebody wrote back, said, he couldn't even negotiate with Macy's to keep his stupid suits in the store. Yeah. When there are people who have the franchise, as we say, who are eligible to vote, who actually seriously think that a clown like him would be a good president, then don't you think we should rethink voting? I just frightening. And they do vote. Fools.
Well, I mean, what do you mean rethink voting?
I think, can we have at least a reality test, an IQ test? I don't know. I know we can't.
People tried that, remember?
I know. So anyway, I saw this piece that somebody wrote who's in Seattle. Well, what do you think of when you think of Seattle in terms of weather?
Rainy and about 55 to 60 degrees.
All the time.
All the time.
Okay.
Sometimes you can see the view.
Okay. Get this. Seattle, actually, and this might surprise you, is in terms of, would that be latitude? Latitude? Yeah. Is farther north than Montreal, farther north than Maine, And yet, last month in June, it has been hotter in Seattle than in Athens, than in Rome, that has palm trees, and than in Los Angeles, that has palm trees. In fact, Walla Walla, Washington, get this. You know what the temperature was the other day? This is mind-blowing.
90?
113.
God, one would think that there was something causing the climate to change.
I know. In Paris the other day, it was 103. June, which in Seattle has always been known for its cloudiness and its gloom, apparently one atmospheric scientist has said that this last month in Seattle was probably the sunniest month in Northwest American history. And they say if this is any indicator of what the climate change is going to be.
Goodbye, Pinot Noir.
Goodbye, Pinot Noir. Goodbye the snow melt. Goodbye, water. Goodbye, the salmon. They say salmon need cold water. They'll be gone. Cherries, apples, peaches, wine, grapes. They need a lot of water and they need cooler temperatures.
Well,
and
what's going to happen is it's all going to start happening in the Midwest because this has been the coldest, rainiest June.
That's right. And here, we've had the rainiest. We haven't had any sun. I'm thinking of putting solar panels on my house, and I met with someone yesterday, and I said...
It's your fault.
I know, I said, why would I invest in solar panels when you can't even see the sun here, ever? So,
we sound like this because we yell a lot.
Well, that's true. But, I mean, for people, what's going on? Nobody knows anymore what to expect in terms of what summer will bring, what winter brings. We don't know anymore, right?
Right.
Just all out the window. And so they say the trees are really stressed in the Northwest. The fish are really stressed. The crops are stressed. But, of course, you look at what's been happening in Pakistan and India. You got thousands of people dying in the streets there. And that makes you think of what can government do? Well, one thing it might do is stop saying nothing's happening.
Right. Because you certainly can't do anything about something you don't admit exists.
Here's why I can never again vote for a Republican. Here's one more example. The head of the science, what's the exact name of it? Senate committee, I don't know which it is, that has to do with science, is a guy who doesn't believe in science because Republicans control the Congress. And that guy is James Inhofe, Republican idiot representing Oklahoma. He calls weather, all this talk of changing climate, he calls it the greatest hoax. He's the one, Suze, who brought a snowball to the Senate floor.
Yeah, it's appalling. We are ruled by the idiots the people elect.
That's why I'm saying idiots
Nothing
elect
we can
idiots.
do about it except try to have more people that are not idiots than people that are idiots.
And how's that going to happen? We're destroying education.
Even the Pope can't deal with it.
Isn't he cute?
Yeah, he is.
Just want to hug him. I do. I just want to hug him. Hey, let's hear it, though, for some Republicans. South Carolina Senate.
Yeah.
Overwhelming vote to get rid of the flag. Now it moves on to their House of Total Clowns, which is the house.
Where
house.
it's going to have more trouble.
It's going to have trouble. But, I mean, there is such pressure on these people. anytime you get Republicans turning on a dime like this about something that they have maintained for over 100 years, it's pretty astonishing. So, all right, Suze.
Actually, and then we can say goodbye. Actually, they haven't maintained it for over 100 years. The Confederate flag came back in the 50s.
Yeah.
Along with the guns.
And right around with civil rights.
Right.
Anytime they felt those blacks were getting uppity.
That's right. They'd wave that flag, and because they knew what that meant.
That's right. It's a flag of intimidation.
That's right.
And terror.
Yeah, that's right. And to pretend like it's anything else is.
So why does CNN? Is it true CNN keeps saying that the majority of Americans agree that the flag is representative of Southern heritage and is not a hate flag?
No, I don't. I don't know where they come up with that, because I don't
thought they. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's the flag of an enemy of the United States.
Exactly right. Well,
nothing more, nothing less.
No, I'm glad we are in complete agreement.
Right.
Okie doke. Well, I think that does it. Hey, Selma, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. Good to hear from you. Have a nice day, okay?
Oh, you too.
All right,
you
bye.
Too, okay.
Bye, Suze.
Bye.
Bye. And bye, you guys. See you tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.